Okay, this is it. It's Ponderosa Pine. It's all perfectly fine up here. So we're gonna put a bar top peninsula in this outdoor kitchen. In fact, I'm gonna bring it off of this post right here, and it's gonna come out this direction, not quite halfway across the opening. I have a piece of log that I milled earlier this spring. I have in mind for this, kind of a live edge, rounded bottom. So it's about 15 inches wide. I think that'll be just fine. I'll make it about 4 to 5 feet long. So I was just looking at the floor where I'm gonna fasten this thing to the floor, and I realized I never did go back and finish screwing these boards down. So that's what I just did this morning. I had about 30 of them I had to put in. So they're all in. So check that off the list. So yeah, I was just trying to determine how I was gonna fasten this to the floor. I'm still not 100% sure. It's gonna be a little tricky because the bottom, like I said, of this top is rounded. So I gotta figure out a way to flatten the spot, put a couple of beefy legs here, and make this thing nice and solid. What I don't want to do is put a post right here, all the way up to this beam, down to the floor. That would be by far the most solid, the most stable. It would never go anywhere. But we decided we just don't want a post right here in the middle. I think that would affect the view. If you're in the back of the kitchen and you're looking out, you want that view unobstructed. So I'm thinking a couple of 6x6 legs, something really sturdy that I can get a lot of meat, screw it into the floor joist from a couple different directions, and then wrap around this post right here, and I think we'll be good to go. So I'm gonna take a few measurements here, and then we'll go back to Red Moose Ranch and start working on that countertop and those legs. I think I'll glue everything together as much as I can, and then piece it together once I get here. Glorious day in the mountains. Check that out. Are you ready to build a kitchen in the middle of nowhere? You should. Okay, well, I'm gonna get my tape measure out and get to work. Let's go check out the slab I'm talking about. Okay, this is it. It's Ponderosa Pine. This is stuff I milled up last spring. The same time I milled all the flooring for the Spur cabin. So Ponderosa Pine that was burnt in the fire that we had, 8 years ago, 9 years ago now. Just a few wormholes along the edges near the bluing. Other than that, not bad at all. Nice and solid. It's a lot thicker than I thought, than I remembered. So I'm not gonna be hiking this thing back. You can kind of get a feel for how thick it is. It's a good 3-4 inches thick, and it's about 15 inches wide. Let me go get the side-by-side. I got it! Ugh. Good. God. Whose idea was this? So I designed this bar top peninsula on a computer using a CAD program, and here's what it printed out. So that's what it's gonna look like. So I just gotta cut this board to length. So I have to cut it 5 feet, 5.5 inches long. As you can see, there's just a little bit of bark left here and there. And here's a burnt branch sticking out. I don't want anyone to hit their knee on it, anything like that. So I'll just clean up this other side a little bit. Nothing too fancy. I am going to sand this top. So later on in this episode, sanding. I know you're excited. Let's get to work. I have two fairly good-sized checks. Right here, this one, and then over on the opposite end, right here. So I'm not thrilled about those. They're not coming through the other side, so that's good. I don't want them to get any worse though, because this is going to be out semi in the elements, meaning it'll be prone to moisture and or temperature for sure. So what I'm going to do is pin these. I'm going to drill a little pilot hole from one side because this is round, so I want to get in there a little ways. I don't have any 6 inches with me or anything longer than that. I have actually just 4 inches. So I'm going to drill a hole and then start my screw in the hole, maybe here perhaps, and then stitch these together a couple places on each end. Can't hurt anything, right? Guess what time it is? No, not lunchtime. Sanding time. Don't worry, I won't spend any more than, okay, how about 5 minutes of video? Just sanding. Okay, not 5 minutes. 2 minutes. 2 minutes? Oh man, has to be longer than 15 seconds, but I appreciate your counter offer. Okay, how about a minute and a half each side? No, okay, a minute this side, 30 seconds the other side. Final offer. Okay, let's get sanding. The next thing I'm going to do is notch out for the post. The post is going to be 2 6x6s, which these particular ones net out to about 5 1/4-ish, with a 4x4, meaning 3 1/2, in between. So I have to notch this out to find level, somewhere I can screw this all to. So what I'm going to do is turn this around, and I'm going to run my skill saw against this as deep as the blade will go. So I'm only going to cut off 1 1/2 slice, okay? The reason I'm going to do that with my skill saw is because it'll just be neater. So I'm going to save that slice and I'm going to put it back at the end, because once that's gone, then I'm going to go in another 5 1/4 deeper with my chainsaw in this direction so that I can put my bank of posts here and then cap it with my finished end. Does that make sense? I hope so. It's all perfectly fine up here, but you know how up here is. I think as I'm doing this, it'll probably become clearer. Okay, well, let's get cutting. Okay, the last thing I'm gonna do is cut this corner out. If you see a line right here, I'm gonna leave that there because this part is gonna wrap around the existing post I have at the outdoor kitchen. I might have to trim some more off of this once I get over to the kitchen because after 5.5 inches of my post, then I believe I have that metal. So let's cut this corner off right now. $5.49, holy cow. So after I get this cut up, I'm gonna call it a night for myself, and I'll see you bright and early tomorrow. Well, just stay put. I'll just automatically show up. All right, let's notch this thing out. Hey, you're still here. That's a good sign. Another great day in the mountain. Crisp fall air, even though it's not technically fall yet. This 6x6, I'm gonna cut this in half, and this is gonna be the 2 legs of the bar. And that's gonna be separated with a chunk of this 4x4. And it just so happens that out of an 8-footer, I have exactly what I need. So all I have to do is square off the ends, and it'll be close enough. And you'll see how I attach it to the kitchen later. A little breezy out here this morning. If it wasn't for the breeze and the sawdust, I would say, let's just work outside. But that's okay, let's work in here. Okay, I wanna grab that 6x6, and we'll start cutting it up. Okay, my legs are ready to go. Spacer's ready to go. So this will be the bottom of the legs. I don't know if you can see these lines right here, but from here on down, that's where I'm going to fasten it to the side of the joist under the kitchen. This is decking, and on top of that decking, then I will put the trim on. I'll probably do that right here. That way, once this is at the kitchen, I can just set this into place after I cut my hole in the floor. And then this will hold it up to the height that we need. And on the top, I'll have a similar band, at least on one side, the face of the bar. Well, let's start clamping and gluing and screwing and try to make something. Well, is this thing making any sense yet? I think it will by the end of this episode. I think I'm done with everything I need to do here in the barn, so let's gather up everything and load it up and bring it over to the Spur Kitchen. Okay, I have my end cut to fit. This is going to sit kind of like this, obviously in the air. And this where it's cut out is where the top of the legs are gonna go. So now I just need to cut a hole through the decking, but over here. So if my plans work out accordingly, the bottom of this base will be flush against this joist right here. And then I'll come in, screw it from the joist. Well, let's carefully mark this out and cut our decking. Your fingers crossed? Voila! Look at that! Okay, looks good under there. Okay, that's level enough for me. This top isn't completely flat. That's kind of the nature of the beast when you mill your own lumber. See that corner right down there is maybe a 1/4 inch high or so? That's okay. It'll be just fine. So let's put a couple screws right there, level this up as much as we can, and then we'll start working on this side now that I know it's level enough. Okay, this top is level enough. These legs are plumb, so it's looking good up here. I noticed the bottom of these legs are flush against this joist right here, which is where I want them to be. They're not fastened yet. Before I do that, I'm gonna fasten this top to the legs. How am I gonna do that? Hold on to your seats. Right through the top. I know, I wouldn't be doing this with fine furniture. See all these wormholes? I'm going to bury these screws at a slight angle. It's just going to look like a wormhole. You'll never know. You will never know. And then I'm going to come up from the legs, toe screw it into the top from the bottom as well. Okay, well, let's carefully do that. Fasten this thing down. Okay, check this out. Right now the camera is sitting on the other end of this bar. I'm happy with that. Last item up for bid. Polyurethane. I'm going to put some exterior polyurethane on here and give it a nice coat. It's 448. It's a little bit later than I wanted it to be for this stuff, but it's not going to freeze tonight, so I'm not really concerned about it. If it takes all night to dry, that's fine. Or tomorrow, whatever. I think you're supposed to stir this stuff and not shake it because it leaves bubbles otherwise. I think. So I'm just going to stir it lightly. Okay, this is going to look good when it's finished. So let's finish it. Well, every outdoor kitchen needs a bar top counter, right? Check it out. It's just a little tacky yet. What I'll probably do is give this a day or two, and then I'll hit it with some really fine sandpaper and then put another coat on it. At least one more. I think it turned out good. What do you think? Is it what you were expecting? Enough room over here to put a chair or stand, just so you don't fall off. A lot of character. That polyurethane I used really brought the grain out. I really dig that. Check that out. Well, thank you for watching Life on the Moose as usual. I do appreciate it. I've said this once or twice before. Without you, I would just be some weird guy building stuff, talking to himself out in the middle of nowhere. But you give me a reason to talk to myself. So thank you. And thank you for the likes and the subscribes and the comments. They're awesome. Next week, I'm not sure. One thing I want to do is get going on this landscaping, finish this up once and for all. Move that pile of debris up there. Take these loose rocks, move them off of this hillside. Maybe dig in some steps and then move a flat rock or two down here for a front stoop or a front step. And then with some of those rocks that we bring off of that hill, I want to make a fire pit. Just nothing fancy. So I might get started on that. Gosh, I'm going to order some gravel, a truck or two of gravel to put around this cabin. Helps keep the weeds down, helps for fire. I thought I saw a bear in the distance. Nope, it's not. We have these sills to finish, posts to wrap, have that door to put in back there. We have lots of stuff, not to mention the cabinets, and I have a few ideas for that as well. Plenty to do out here yet, so make sure you come back next week and see what we do. Thanks again. Take care of yourself. Be good to each other. I'll see you soon.